Executive Director at ChamberSOUTH. And today I have the honor of being here with Michael Miller with Miami Community News. How are you, Michael?
Hey, good. Rick, thanks for being here. Things are great on this end. So I've been looking at some of the things that the ChamberSOUTH is doing. So tell us about some of the really significant things that are about to happen.
You know what? A lot of organizations slowed down during the summer months. We haven't slowed down at all. We have a big luncheon coming up next week. It's already sold out. We have 5 mayors on my panel, and we have the mayor of Homestead, we have the mayor of Pinecrest, the mayor of Palmetto Bay, the mayor of Cutler Bay, and the mayor of South Miami. All of them on my panel.
It's amazing to be able to coordinate, to get all those people together, right? That's just extraordinary. Where's that going to be?
That's going to be at the AC Hotel at 11:30 a.m. next Wednesday.
Plenty of parking.
Plenty of parking, not plenty of seats anymore.
Right. So what is the purpose of that meeting?
The purpose of that meeting is because, you know what? People want to know what is happening in their city, what's happening in their town, and what is going to be happening in the near future. And they need to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Grant and I have been involved in marketing and sharing our content for decades. I've never seen anything like this from a Chamber of Commerce. So my hat's off to you and your team for doing that.
Thank you, Michael.
And then I also noticed the website seems to be updated. Tell us about that.
Yes. One of the first things, I took over this chamber in September of last year, September of 2024. One of the first things that I looked at was our website, because the website is a reflection of your organization. And if your website is not up to date, it's not modern, it doesn't send the mission or the vision of your organization, it doesn't explain that. And that one did not. And we updated that website, and now that website practically updates itself. What do I mean by that? Every time we have an event, we take pictures and videos, just like you guys do. And those pictures and videos, as soon as we post them, that website automatically gets those pictures and those videos, and they post it on the website. So it's always updated. Our calendar is always updated. Every time I add an event, it goes on the website. You see it in 2 places. You see it under the events calendar, but you also see it on the homepage as you scroll down.
And the folks that made that, was that a Chamber website, or was that something that you had custom made?
I had it custom made.
By a local guy?
By a local guy, and the company name is Megapixel. His name is Frankie Cordova.
Yeah. So when I met him, I said, is it Francisco? Is it Frankie? Or what? And he said, whatever you want to call me, just don't call me late for dinner. All right. Okay. And his daughter is, what is her name?
One of his daughters is Danielle, and she is the marketing coordinator for our organization.
Is she the one that's getting her master's at FIU?
She is.
That's wonderful. I met her, well, several times, but I saw her the other day. So hats off to them and for you for coordinating that and for sharing on that website the information that's there. So let's talk about some of the other chambers, because you've had some events with them. So why don't you tell us about some of that?
All right. I think that, one of the things in the past, a lot of the chambers, and still today, unfortunately, a lot of the chambers that exist out there don't want to have joint events with other chambers because they're always scared of, you're going to poach my member. I don't care about poaching. It's not about poaching. The responsibility of a chamber is to really help the business owner and help that business owner get exposure, make connections, try to help them grow their business, try to get them out there, get their name out there, make sure that their business is known. If I can have them meet new people by having joint events, we're going to do that. We held our first one with B&I groups at the AC Hotel all the way down in Miami. Now, ChamberSOUTH is in charge of, we cover the area of Pinecrest, South Miami, Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay, and Greater Kendall. And we had that all the way down in AC Hotel in Miami. Between us and the B&I groups, we had over 100.
Where's that?
In Miami Airport. It's the EB Hotel. Right. At Miami Airport, and we had over 125 people there.
And I think that you're right as far as coordinating people without regard to what club, what tribe, or whatever. Get them together, because that's why they're joining, to have a good time, to network, maybe do some extra business.
I had a second one. The second one that we had was at Mercedes-Benz of Cutler Bay. I invited several of the business associations and the other chambers, all of them that cover those areas that I mentioned earlier. 3 of the 5 made it. The other 2 did not want to participate.
There's the Beatles had a song, "We All Live in the Yellow Submarine." That's the reality of this.
Yeah, it is.
And I frequently say to people, I'll see you around campus. Because the reality is, if you're in Dade County and you go to enough places, you're seeing some of the same people. And the object is, how do you meet some other people, whether you're going to do business with them or not? And we know that is healthy, to do that.
Mike, you bring up a very good point, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but one of the biggest issues that chambers have is becoming stagnant. If you go to an event, whether it be a night networker, a luncheon, a morning event, whatever, and you see the same faces every time, it becomes stagnant. And that's why it's important, to me at least, to try to expose our membership to other groups, other organizations, and our own, even though we're growing tremendously.
And I've heard that repeatedly. So when we have our events, which we have every 3 weeks or so, when we see new people, what a pleasure it is. And
it's refreshing.
Let's say I don't recognize, but I see that they don't understand the process. So the other day I was at an event, I'm telling people like this for pictures. Everybody at Costa Cuba gets it, all right, except for the new people. The other place they go in, walk around them and come over here, and they're staring. I said, "Oh, this must be your first time." So I think that's important, to get the new blood to be able to do that. Let's talk about Cutler Bay. That was the Mercedes down there. A lot of people, all right. I saw Ernie Gomez from Cutler Bay Business Association, BNI, Florida Professionals, I think.
Florida Professional Association was there.
And the Chamber. And how many folks were there?
About 140 in total.
And so imagine the insight that the Mercedes-Benz people had 20 years ago. When they said, we're going to put a Mercedes place down in Cutler Ridge. And so all of us folks have been around for a while. What do they know that we don't know? And so here it is, all right? They do a lot of business down there, and that's where a lot of new business is going to happen. So let's look down the road for a year or two for ChamberSOUTH. What does it look like?
It looks like twice the size that it is now. We've already doubled in size.
You've already doubled now?
I've already doubled in size.
In this last year?
Yeah.
So what drives you to do that? Because you didn't have to do that. You could have sat there in the office all day smoking a cigar and having some espresso or after 5 p.m. drink.
Yeah. You know what? I guess because I'm old school. And what do I mean by old school? I've been in management the majority of my life. I'm 66 now. And I started at UPS when I was 18. Became a supervisor at 19. And ever since then, I've always been in management. I've never been able to go home and leave work at the office. I always take work home. Not that I work at home every day, because I love to be with my wife and my family, but I take home the work every day. Last night I was sending emails at 8:30 because I want to do that, because it's in me. Not because I want to work 60 hours a week, but if that's what I got to do to be successful, not for me, for the organization and for the people and the board of directors and the people that support ChamberSOUTH. I want them to be successful.
So we've been acutely aware of ChamberSOUTH for a long time. This is probably the closest relationship we've ever had. And I realized that it wasn't because of us. It was because on the other side, they just weren't up to the task, which was, how do you work with other organizations that want to promote and be able to bring people together? And that's certainly one of the things that we're all involved with. And Rochelle, who's sitting over here, my hat's off to her again. I love bragging about her. She's a school teacher, right? 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, trying to help the kids down in Florida City. When she gets done teaching down there, she drives from Florida City to here.
Wow.
Right? It's about, she's nodding her head, yep.
Yeah.
And she's trying to help those kids that need help. So my hat's off to her. And she's trying to bring those people together, those kids, so they can have a real future. Is the ChamberSOUTH doing things to help people that need help? And tell us what that might be.
There's no doubt. But before I answer that one for you, I want to go back to what you just said about our relationship with Miami community newspapers. Believe it or not, for every potential member that I have, I send them a special email. And that email kind of explains a little bit about our membership package, our events. Some have costs, some don't have costs. And in that email, and I'll send you a copy, it says that we have a partnership with Miami Community Newspapers. And they hold events at Casa Cuba. And those events.
Where'd you get that accent from?
Oh, because I'm Cubano. So I Casa Cuba, and I tell them those events have no cost, and we have tables reserved there, and we invite you to sit with us. So not all events that are being promoted have a cost. Some are free, some are not free. So I wanted to make sure they know about that.
Thanks.
But why do we want to help, or what am I doing to help? As a matter of fact, today at 4:30 p.m., we have a small business resource event. What does that mean? We have a small business resource committee, and the last event was a month ago, and we brought in, there was 29 people there in total, business owners, and we taught them. We had Goldman Sachs 10,000 there from Miami-Dade College. We had Bayside Foundation, and we have Prospera. Who are those organizations? Those organizations that are out there that are there to help the small business owner, how to get a business plan, how to get a low interest loan, how to get training for free at Miami-Dade College. And a lot of business owners, whether they be small, medium, or large, don't know that's available to them. Today, it's about the legal aspect of it. Should you get an attorney involved when you go into business? Should you have an attorney if you have a business partner? Should you have an attorney look at your paperwork before signing a lease? And they need to know yay or nay.
So this is bigger than just meeting somebody who might buy some of your product or you buy from. This is the core of business and how to do that. And it's so good that you're doing it. And I did want to do a shout out for Strive 305. It's a show that's here, county funded. And the show invites small businesses on, and they help you navigate the Dade County things. If you needed a building permit, an occupation license, maybe you needed some money, or just figure out how to do this. So there was an organization years ago called SCORE. I think they're still around, senior something, where you could go and talk to somebody who's going to walk you through. So in this case, if they go to join your chamber, there's different speakers that you have that can help them put together their business plan and make sure as best they can that they can be successful. So let's talk a little bit about, I see that the chambers is expanding, seems to be a little farther north than before. Typically, for people that don't know, there was this unsaid geo circuit around. This is where this chamber was, and everybody sort of left each other alone. But some of you new members are going to be coming up for a little farther north past Coral Gables, maybe into downtown, because they want to go out into the suburbs a little bit. So tell us about, if you have that mapped out yet.
I do. As a matter of fact, I'm in contact right now with Soraya Rivera, which is I'm going to say the director of the Wynwood Chamber. Now, whoever thought that we would have a Wynwood Chamber?
Mm-hmm.
But Wynwood is growing. Wynwood is expanding. There's a lot of businesses there, a lot of restaurants there.
Yes.
And she's open to teaming up with other chambers and other organizations to expose their business members to other people as well. So you've got that. You got the Miami Airport Chamber that just started, 2-3 months ago?
Yep.
And you know who Wilson's
Yep.
is running that. And you know what? I congratulate him. He's already has some very good speakers,
Yep.
At their luncheons. So there is a lot of expansion going on. But like you say, so many chambers, is it really something that's needed for the business person? Or are they business associations? Or can we unite? We just have to try to all work together.
So, and I'm glad you brought up Wynwood, because I've been spending more time downtown recently, and specifically farther east towards the Bay. There's a huge number of people there, so many apartments. And I was walking around on a Sunday morning, people were dragging their luggage. And I asked, well, what are you doing here with luggage? No, those are empty suitcases. So when I buy stuff, I put it in my suitcase. I went,
It's amazing.
really? Yeah. All right. And all over Sunday morning, there was more traffic, people walking than I'd ever seen before. But apparently that goes on, quite readily. Let's talk about the South Dade Chamber, and they had for years been like separate from down there because it really goes, ChamberSOUTH, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, and then there's this huge distance in there. I think Carrie was her name, Carrie, I forgot her last name. She was there for many, many, many years.
Now it's a young lady by the name of Yordi.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were a strong foothold during the pandemic. They come up here every week or every 2 weeks. They would do a show. And I always liked it when the Fruit and Spice Park would come here. They would bring all the mangoes.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Michelle's going, we remember those. They just leave them here. I said, take the flies with you. We just leave the fruit. So each chamber has its own personality. So tell us about the personality of ChamberSOUTH.
The personality of ChamberSOUTH is welcoming. I think that our chamber is one where everyone is welcome. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you walk into a chamber, another chamber, they may be too big or they may be just right, but you feel cliquey, or you feel that they're hard and difficult to penetrate, or you feel that they're too political. And one of the things that I've tried to instill in our board and in our members is to welcome somebody new and show them and talk to them and help them and introduce yourself. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you go to an event and you can tell the people that are not used to networking, they're up against the wall. And, I tell them, when I see them, I like to go up to them and talk to them, introduce myself, let them know who I am. And then I tell them, look around. Everybody in this room is here to do the same thing you are. Meet people. So don't be afraid to talk to them.
And that's certainly when we ask our staff when we have our events, you got to stand at the door. You have to welcome people because they walk in. Maybe they don't know anybody there. Maybe you're going to be the first smile on their face and take them around and explain it. We did an event at Evelyn Greer Park. These old two Cuban guys with guayaberas. They weren't smoking a cigar, but I'm imagining. And I go, are you new here? Well, who are you? I said, I sort of do stuff here. And so I explained it to them. They only spoke a word or two of English. When I got done, they go, no comprende. I said, oh,
No
here we go.
comprende.
I said, but I realized that they were lost. They didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
So they were sitting there waiting to see what people were going
to happen.
And I think that's important for us on any of these things, to walk over to people and to open up so they can feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
And you mentioned it. You tell your staff, when I first started with ChamberSOUTH, and it still happens, not 100%, but I would go to our first luncheon and all my board members sat together. I said, what are we doing? We got to separate, everybody split, sit at a different table, introduce yourself to the people that are here. Those members want to know our board.
And I think that's important. And we still work on that with our people because we tend to congregate in our own tribes. I said,
Yes.
So if 5 of our folks are over in one place, I go, listen, there's 200 people here. I said, go out and meet some people. So we know that so often it is hard for people to do that.
It is.
And so what suggestion would you make for somebody that walks in and they don't know anybody there, and it's a really big deal for them to show up, and they look in the room and they're looking for somebody to talk to. And if you looked at them and you realize they're a little bit lost, what might you tell somebody on your staff to do with that person?
You see that individual right there? Go say hello and introduce yourself. And do me a favor, find out where they're from and introduce them to other folks. Introduce them to our members.
So one of the things we also recognize, we have a photo line, which I hate the lines, all right? But the new people don't know what's happening, so they won't do that. And so what we do now, we'd like to get your picture. Would that be all right? Like, oh, really? I said, come on over here, all right? And our job is to make the line as short as possible so they're not standing in line for 20 minutes.
Exactly. And that's a great point because a month ago or so, I played in a tournament, a golf tournament. And I took someone with me that had never played in a golf tournament, in a scramble, where you get your pictures taken and you get a goodie bag and you get all these things. And he felt like he was lost. So just like he's lost, imagine that. He's lost in a scramble golf tournament. how will they not be lost in a business event?
So when you said tournament, I thought you were going to say pickleball. So tell us about your pickleball experiences.
All right. Well,
There we go, folks.
We just had our first pickleball tournament last Saturday at the youth fair, not the 5th, the one before that, the last Saturday in June. And I was terrified. What do I mean by I was terrified? I was terrified because I didn't have control. I didn't know how many people I signed up or anything, because I have a special app that you got to sign up and all this other stuff. But hey, it was a total success. We had almost 50 people there. It was great. We were there for hours. I had vendors out there stretching people, giving all kinds of injections and all kinds of things. We had a great time. Food trucks.
Where did you learn that skill as far as marketing?
You know, I have a great staff. My marketing is just me talking and me introducing people and me letting them know not to be afraid. But my marketing coordinator, she's awesome. Danielle, Ileana Delgado, she's fantastic when it comes to everything operational. And, you know, that's important because she stays in contact with the members just like I do. If you join today, you're a new member today, we create a welcome post. Welcome to Chamber South, and we post it out to everybody on our mailing list, and people really thank that. And what do I do with that post? When it comes out, I send them a personal email. Hey, I want to personally welcome you to Chamber South.
So we know that the Chamber South is now involved with the city for an upcoming event they have. It's called SOMI. I forget the last name of it. And I had the pleasure of meeting Brandon. I forgot his last name. He's in charge of Diaz. All right. And so we had the pleasure of interviewing him this morning. Congratulations to the city on being able to put that together. So what is the Chamber's involvement in this event they're doing?
Thank you for bringing that up. It's called Taste of SOMI, and what it is this: in the summer months, it becomes very slow for our businesses, especially our restaurants here. In Coral Gables, and I tip my hat off to them because they've been doing it for a long time. The business development team in the city of Coral Gables does a phenomenal job trying to get their businesses recognized during the summer. So they had Taste of Coral Gables. Michael Altman from Kitchen 57, he is one of the folks, like many, that joined several chambers. And he's part of the Coral Gables Chamber, and he's part of South Miami. Coral Gables Chamber, unfortunately, and the city of Coral Gables would not promote his business because it's in South Miami. So him and I got together and we went to the city and we said, and we went to the city of South Miami and we told them, we got to do a program like this. And they jumped on board and they reached out to all of the businesses. As a matter of fact, I did a recording of 2 businesses already. I got 3 more to go, because the chamber's also involved in going to different businesses, helping out the business owner, showcasing their business, and getting a message out. So hopefully that'll help them out.
That's wonderful. And so often, sometimes you just need a helping hand, or somebody else cares about us, because when businesses feel ignored, right, and put off, that's not a very healthy thing. So when things get tough, they sort of give up and then they point fingers.
And thank God the city didn't give up.
Yes. And I think this is one of the few times that the city has really gone out of its way in a big way. They would probably say, oh, not so. But it's been years since it's really been amplified. So the city, by hiring that first person, by accepting, the challenge of doing that, I think that business people and the residents are going to feel better.
I think so too, Mike. And I'll be honest with you, they need to do a lot more. They really do. Like, one of the big things that we had over there in Coral Gables, and you know that I spent a lot of time in Coral Gables before coming here, was Halloween on the Mile. Halloween on the Mile was on a Saturday, whether it be just before or a few days before Halloween, and there's thousands of people there. Here, they do Halloween, but they do it on night of Halloween. Instead of doing like that, they should have it beforehand, open it up to all the stores, and everybody have a good time.
Okay, we got about 30 seconds left. What do you want to say before we sign
off? I want to say thank you to Miami Community Newspapers for the partnership that we have. You guys are always there to support not only the chambers, but the small business owners and the business owners of the cities. It doesn't matter what city. So thank you.
Rick Alberti, thank you very much for doing this. I'm going to look in the blue camera. Folks, remember, take care of yourselves.